Blown out by the Pistons. What lessons can the Bucks take forward with them as they gear up to play against the Portland Trailblazers and the Miami Heat this week? We'll be joined by some Locked On hosts to preview those games and also discuss takeaways from that disappointing blowout against Detroit.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Your team every day. I'm Camille Davis, an NBA analyst with the Locked On Network and co-host of the Technical Foul podcast, among some other Packer entities that I do some work for. Go Pack Go. But we appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Running solo today, I mentioned the Go Pack Go chance. Justin's actually in Green Bay for the game, so I hope he's enjoying himself. Enjoyed that victory. It always feels good to beat a divisional opponent. But this ain't Locked On Packers, this is Locked On Bucks. And on today's show, we are going to be joined by Mike Richman of Locked On Blazers to preview the Bucks Monday night game at home against Portland. And then we'll be joined by Wes Goldberg of Locked On Heat to preview the Bucks' third NBA Cup game against Miami on Wednesday. But first, we have to discuss the Bucks' blowout loss against the Pistons and what takeaways you can gather from a game like that. Coming into this game, it was a battle of streaks, right? The broadcast mentioned it. It was talked about. The Bucks had won 13 games in a row against the Detroit Pistons. Meanwhile, the Pistons came into that game on Saturday night against the Bucks, having won 11 straight games. Make that 12. The Pistons win streak continues, and now the Bucks have lost 4 games in a row this season. Longest losing streak of the season so far. They are now 8-9, which ironically enough is the exact same record the Bucks had last season after 17 games. Feels a lot different, doesn't it? Last year started 2-8. Then you saw the Bucks make that run to kind of get themselves back around 500 before they were able to push themselves a few games over 500, where they pretty much remained for the rest of the season there. This year, 4-1 start. Felt really good, really optimistic there. And the Bucks have gone 4-8 since. Of course, we know that Giannis got injured during the Cavs game, so the Bucks were without him against Cleveland for most of that game, really, because he was injured in the second quarter of that game anyways. And then the Bucks play Philly without Giannis. They lose that game, a game that was winnable right there for them. Weren't able to walk away with that one. And then they lose to the best team, at least by record. If you don't believe in the Pistons for real, I think the Pistons are for real this season with that defense. But then they lose to the best team in the Eastern Conference, at least by record. So you got four losses there, and Giannis was a part of one of those losses against the Lakers. But here we are, right? Here we are. And it's one of those games where it was ugly for large stretches throughout. The Bucks were able to find times where they were threatening in this game, but I don't even want to really talk about the game flow of this particular game because, again, it was a blowout loss to the Pistons. It is what it is. It'd be like that sometimes without Giannis. With Giannis, this game was going to be difficult. Without Giannis, this game was on Hall of Fame difficulty level for the Milwaukee Bucks. But one thing we did see in this game was Andre Jackson Jr. He was somebody that Justin had mentioned as someone that he was kind of like, hey, could we see Ajax get dusted off for the Bucks a little bit and put back in that rotation? And he played 29 minutes against Detroit. He had a few in garbage time at the end there, but he checked in the first quarter. So he played the most minutes of anybody on the Bucks bench. He finished with 6 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 steals. But ultimately, it's the energy that Andre brings, and that's been the case for Andre. The defense has been there for him. And for a Bucks team that this season has been struggling defensively, somebody like Andre Jackson Jr., who also offers you size on the wing, is kind of like, hey, interested in seeing him out there. Would have liked to see Andre out there in more situations where the team wasn't playing zone as well, just to kind of really unleash him and everything that he can do. I saw an article, I believe it was from Brew Hoop. I don't want to credit the wrong Bucks source. I think it was Brew Hoop. If it wasn't Brew Hoop, it was Behind the Bucks Pass. Shout out to both of them. But it made mention of the fact that last year, according to matchup data on NBA.com, when Andre Jackson Jr. was the primary defender on forwards last season, they were limited to just 34 of 86 on field goals, which is good for 39.5%. Like, Andre Jackson Jr., as we know, has a real defensive skill set. The question with him has been offensively. Can he do enough offensively to justify him being out there on the court? Because opposing teams are going to ignore him. And if you put him in a lineup that also includes somebody like Giannis, who isn't a floor spacer with the 3 ball, and someone like Kyle Kuzma, who other teams also are going to be like, prove to me you can shoot these threes, you have some spacing concerns. So for Andre, especially in these minutes now, without Giannis, what can you earn during this time? And I think if he can show defensively that he still has that ability in him, if he can show offensively that he can make quick decisions. One of the threes he made in this game, real quick. He got the ball, didn't hesitate, let it go. You need that from him. He has to just be quick with his decision making. So if Andre can do that, he can be somebody who, even when Giannis is back, might still find himself in the rotation, because as mentioned, the defense has just been a sore spot for the Bucks so far. According to Cleaning the Glass, right now, the Bucks defensively, ooh boy, defensively, let's see here. The Milwaukee Bucks are coming in at 21st in defensive rating at a 117.9. Not great when there's only 30 teams in the league, right? So hopefully this game does at least allow us to see a little bit more of what Andre Jackson Jr. can bring to the table. It was a tough game for Ryan Rollins. Asar Thompson, man, that kid's a dog. Defensively, he was trying to make Rollins' life as difficult as possible, and he definitely was able to do that. Rollins struggled a bit in this game, and he was still able to finish the game with 24 points, 7 assists, 5 rebounds, and 3 turnovers. Like, Rollins has a green light, especially with Giannis out of the lineup. He has earned that. A few of the shots he had against the Pistons, a little forced. Might have been a pass right next to him. We're like, hey, you shouldn't make that pass here. But he's walking a fine line. Like, he is now number 1 on opposing team scouting reports. He is somebody who I mentioned has the green light. He has shown his ability to create shots. So you give it to him. And he's a young player. So you kind of just have to let him learn through it. So I'm not even mad at it. This is the game where I really tip my cap to Asar Thompson. Ryan Rollins got a tech in this game because he was a little bit upset with how he was being officiated, not getting calls. He feels that he should be getting at the rim where he feels like he's being fouled. And Doc even mentioned, like, hey, that's something that hopefully comes with time, but he applauded Ryan for keeping his cool. And this game against Detroit was not able to keep his cool. Him and Asar got something going on there, but that's going to happen. You take that experience and you continue to move forward. I have full trust that Rollins continues to build on that. Really quick before we move on to the next segments here, I did love the fact that AJ Green got up 10 threes in this game. He accounted for 10 of the 43 3-point attempts for the Bucks. Love seeing the Bucks have 43 attempts from 3 in this game. The problem, though, for the Bucks in this game, when you look at the actual raw numbers of it all, it's like, hey, they made 4 more threes than the Pistons. The Pistons were hot from 3 themselves. They were 16 of 30. So even though they didn't shoot a high volume, they were 53% from 3. So like that's tough, especially for a Pistons team that's near the lower third in the league of 3-point field goal percentage. But they were getting wide open looks in that zone and knocking them down. So that is what it is. But the part for the Bucks where they really need to clean that up Turnovers. They lost the turnover battle by 3. The Pistons had 14, the Bucks had 17, but the Bucks conceded 30 points off of turnovers. Meanwhile, the Pistons only conceded 14 off of their 14 turnovers. So that's a 16-point difference in points over off of turnover. So like the Bucks got to be cleaner in their operations. You got to win around the margins and just be cleaner going forward. You don't have a lot of room for error, period. And without Giannis, you really don't have much room for error. So this team has now put this game behind them. Hopefully Kyle Kuzma's feeling better. He had an illness he was playing through during that game. And you move forward. You move forward to the Portland Trailblazers, who are coming to Milwaukee on Monday. And up next, we have Mike Richman of Locked On Blazers joining us to preview Monday night's game. But first, a word from our friends over at Gusto, because let's be real, no one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. So whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you to do it from all in one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Gusto's automated tools offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits, which can save you hours every single week. And knowing that you can reach certified HR experts at any time should give you a real peace of mind. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnba and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right. 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnba. One more time, in case you didn't hear me. That's gusto.com/lockedonnba. Also, a word to you from Wayfair, because the holiday season is right around the corner. I mean, Thanksgiving is on Thursday. It's already here. So you've got to get your home ready for the occasion. So whether you need more seating for your guests or more linens, or maybe just some fun serveware to help with the holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part is that you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything. Everything. And they got stuff from like sofas to spatulas. When I ordered from Wayfair recently, I couldn't believe how fast everything shipped. And that's going to come in handy in case you're still waiting ahead of Thanksgiving. Might be able to get that in if you get that order in quick enough. But make sure that you do not miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. Time is so valuable, so I appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. Thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On that #1 sports podcast network out there. A special shout out, as always, to the everydayers who tune in Monday through Friday. And I have the pleasure of being joined by Mike Richman of Locked On Blazers. Mike, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm happy to be on the show. We used to do these crossovers and talk about how much the Blazers miss Damian Lillard. And now the tables have turned indeed.
Indeed, they have. So the Blazers are going to be playing the Thunder in OKC before playing the Milwaukee on the second night of a back-to-back. So as we record this, the Blazers have not yet played that game against the Thunder. It's on the way. We might guess how that goes, but we ain't gonna be in no prediction business over here, Mike. We ain't gonna do that. But
yeah,
what I do want to talk to you about is the injury bug. It's been popping up in Portland. Like, we knew already when this game was on the schedule that we would not be seeing Damian Lillard at least on the court in this game on the return to Milwaukee. But another former Buck, Jrue Holiday, has also been on the injury report. What's been going on with Jrue Holiday, and what's the latest on his injury status?
Yeah, I mean, they traded for him, and he was about as good as you could imagine for a sort of 35-year-old stepping into the role, playing big minutes as their like true starting point guard, because they're playing without Scoot Henderson, who's going to be out for at least it sounds like another month. But Drew was balling, and then he had a calf injury, and he missed a couple games, and the Blazers announced on Friday that he is going to be reevaluated in a week or two. Yeah, I mean, everybody deals with injuries, but it feels like the Blazers have they just don't have any guards. They're just like specifically really hurt in the backcourt right now. And they just have a limited number of dudes who can dribble, which is one of the, important skills in basketball, as you know, Camille.
And that's a problem for the Bucks too, without Giannis, who's been like the main creator right now. The Bucks are also without Kevin Porter Jr., so another guard there. So it's been a lot on the shoulders of Ryan Rollins, who has so far really been embracing that and stepping up to that opportunity. And for the Blazers, like last season, as it was finishing up, and people always are like, well, don't make much of March and April and the things that happen here. It's always weird, right? But the defense of the Blazers, it was giving me confidence. Seeing Avdija and the growth in his game, I was like, man, the Blazers might be one of those teams next year where they get off to one of those starts and you're like, man, where'd they come from? And this season, the Blazers got off to, I believe, a 5-3 start, but have dropped 6 of the last 7 games for the team. What has changed for the Blazers from the first 8 games to the last 7?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like, I think this is a little bit unfair, but they are missing some depth pieces. Matisse Thybulle got hurt, and Blake Wesley got hurt. And Blake Wesley is sort of a little-known backup point guard, but played with a ton of energy on defense. Matisse Thybulle, one of the great defensive playmakers in the league. And without them, just the depth of how they wanted to play on defense. They wanted to press. They were pressing in the first 5 games at the more than any team this century had ever pressed. It was at historic levels. And then they just couldn't do it at the same level. And so they've had to change. They're playing a lot more zone. They've become one of the most zone heavy teams in the league since that first 5-game stretch, which is funny from press to zone. But losing some defensive depth hurt a little bit. And they've also just lost some close games. They lost 2 buzzer beaters. Desmond Bain hit a 3 at the buzzer in a game against the Magic that the Blazers should have won, then should have lost, then should have won, then did lose. And then they came all the way back and nearly beat the Bulls, came back from down 21, and Nikola Vucevic hit a shot at the buzzer. Those don't go in. They go the other way, like in those coin flip games. Then they kind of just look like a 500 level team, and that's sort of what they've played like. So I think some of it's injury stuff. Some of it is a little bit of just sort of bad luck when you get into a bunch of close games. But they play a bunch of close games. They have 1 double-digit loss all season, 0 double-digit wins. They play games that are decided in the single digits. So look for a close one on Monday, where they will play their 5th game in 7 days. So yeah, so I expect it to be a 7-point game, and one of the teams will win.
Is the injuries also part of why the defense has just kind of fallen for Portland too? Over I think you're like 20, somewhere in the 20s defensively so far this season, which is not somewhere I thought that Portland would be given the defensive talent and how things have gone. Is it the injuries piece of it? Is the coaching switch in the middle of the beginning of the season that has played a part in that as well?
Yeah, I mean, the Blazers do lead the league in coaches arrested by the FBI this season. There's no doubt about that. They're top of the list. They were for the 40 games. Last year. They were top 5 in defense at the end of last season. They started very well. Some of it is probably just a little bit of just natural slippage, and kind of maybe you're taking a 15 game sample size. Some of it is, I think, they just haven't been as good as they've tried to settle into a new style of play. They're playing really fast on offense, and sometimes that level of energy can take a little away from your defense. But I also just think they've played poorly in that regard. Like, I think they can be a better defensive team than they've been. I think Toumani Camara is a really good defender who's had some special moments and some kind of stinkers. And I think some of it is the injuries, and some of it is just like surprisingly they haven't been as good.
Okay. And with that, let me ask you one last question as we get ready to wrap here. We mentioned the injuries that this team has been facing. Scoot Henderson has been out. Drew Holiday, as you mentioned, has been out. We know Dame isn't playing. Shaedon Sharpe is hurt. You mentioned Matisse Thybulle out. When looking at this Blazers team, for people who might not be as familiar with the Blazers, and given that this is an unfamiliar opponent for the Bucks, Eastern versus Western Conference team, who are some of the guys that Bucks fans should keep an eye out on during this upcoming matchup on Monday in Milwaukee?
Well, there's a decent chance that that Donovan Clingan doesn't play because he hurt his ankle on Friday, and they play a game on they play Sunday and Monday. So you might get to learn a lot about rookie big man Young Hansen. He's a fun player. He's not very good right now, but he's fun. Deni Avdija is playing at all-star level. He's been an all-star level good this year. He's like a 25, 8-5 guy. Like, he's just been really good. And he's playing de facto point guard now that they don't have anyone who can dribble. He's been very, very special. Jeremy Grant's been up and down, but when he's good, he's still a player who can play. And Toumani Camara, a second team all defense player last year, is kind of the engine of what they are on defense. Other than that, learn about some two-way dudes. You might get to learn about Sidi Sissoko and Caleb Love. There's a chance you see some Javante Cook mixed in there, some real deep in the weeds. But it starts with Deni. He's been their best player. I'm not sure that he makes an all-star team because it's hard to make one, but he has been all-star level good this year. That without a doubt. He's been their best player, and he's been one of the best players in the NBA.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for the Bucks to try to slow him down on Monday in Milwaukee. Mike, thank you so much for your time, for joining us here on Locked On Bucks. We'll make sure to touch base again when the Bucks are heading to Portland for the first time this season. So again, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
For sure. And the good times don't stop here, y'all. We have coming up next Wes Goldberg of Locked On Heat to talk about some weird things the Miami Heat have been doing offensively, and how has that been working ahead of this Milwaukee Bucks Miami Heat NBA Cup game on Wednesday. The NBA is back, as you know, and you should also know that there is no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when it's your team that's making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Please gamble responsibly. I am now joined by one half of Locked On Heat, Wes Goldberg. Wes, thank you for joining us here to kind of preview this NBA Cup game between the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I know the Miami Heat, before playing the Bucks, had a road home back-to-back, Sunday and Monday, beat the Sixers Sunday as we record. Then you have the Mavs on Monday before you host the Bucks in Miami for the NBA Cup game. Let me just ask you this first, actually. Are you a fan of the NBA Cup games and the tournament and all this as it is?
No.
Really?
I don't like being told to care about something. And that's what this feels like. Over at Locked On NBA Daily, Matt Moore and Hayes are very much pro NBA Cup, but they have drank the Kool-Aid and they're ready to jump off the cliff. Like, they just don't, whatever you tell us, we will do. I don't like cults, and I don't generally like being told what to care about. I like basketball. I like the games. If they're good games, I like the games. It annoys me that when the NBA Cup there's a good NBA Cup game, then all of a sudden Matt and Hayes are like, see, this is why the cup is good. I'm like, or also maybe just there's good basketball on it, and it has nothing to do with the fact that the courts are colored different. But I like the NBA. I like basketball. I think the NBA Cup is a little goofy.
See, I'm more on the positive side. I like the NBA Cup.
I wish I was more positive.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Even some of the courts hurt my eyes. I can still kind of get with that, because at least when I tune in, I'm like, oh, this is the NBA Cup game. I like the branding, which led me to a larger point last season of, like, if you can put this much time and effort into NBA Cup branding, why do the playoffs and why do the finals feel like a regular season game? But that's not what we're here to talk about, Wes. We're here to talk about Bucks Heat, and there's been a lot of conversation over the play style of the Miami Heat this season, the de-emphasis of pick and roll, the emphasis on pace. Like, it's just been a different brand of basketball, not only from what the Heat did last year, but just kind of different from what the rest of the league is doing. Could you kind of break down exactly why and what Miami Heat basketball has been so far this season?
It's a great question. And the why is because they've been really bad on offense for the last several years. Bottom 10 in offensive rating over the last 10 years. And Jimmy Butler is not here anymore. They have a very kind of different, new, younger type of roster. And I think what Eric Spoelstra did was two things. He's like, A, we can't be this bad on offense in today's NBA. Like, there's, contrary to what Nico Harrison thinks, like, defense alone does not win championships. You need to have a certain threshold that you got to hit offensively, and we're not hitting it. Like, the Heat, just weren't hitting it. So, A, you got to fix that. B, this is a new roster. It's very young, and it's a lot more athletic than I think people gave it credit for. The Heat were known in that 2023 champion, like, NBA Finals run. It was like, oh, it's like Jimmy Butler and Bam, like these kind of gritty star type guys, and then a bunch of undrafted, unheralded players. Look at this Heat roster. The undrafted guys are gone. Max Strus, Caleb Martin, these guys, Gabe Vincent, all these guys are gone. It's a bunch of first round picks. It's Jaime Jaquez Jr., it's Kel'el Ware, it's Nikola Jovic. It's a bunch of, like, athletes on this team. And so I think Spo looked at that and said, okay, well, they still don't have that elite advantage creator anywhere on the roster, but how can we create an advantage? Well, we could just outrun people. And that goes to your second part of the question, is what is Miami Heat basketball? Well, Heat culture all for years and years and years. And I like to say it with a lowercase c. I'm not totally like on the uppercase c. It's a little crazy. But it's been, hey, we're going to be the most physically fit, well-conditioned team in the league. And I think in the 90s, when Pat Riley was coining that phrase in Miami, that meant being tougher. That meant being bigger, stronger. That's not what the NBA is anymore. Yeah. To be the most fit, well-conditioned team means to run the most and the fastest and the longest without getting tired. And so it is very different, Miami Heat basketball, the fact that they're not running a lot of set plays. You mentioned the lack of pick and roll, all that stuff. That's not Miami Heat basketball. That's not anybody basketball, what they're doing right now. But what is still very much part of, I think why it works and why it's worked so quickly, frankly, is because it still goes with the best conditioned athlete in the NBA thing, which when you really distill the whole Heat culture thing, that's really what it is. It's 24/7, 365 days in the off season. You're still conditioning like it's the regular season, all that stuff. And that's why they've been able to kind of hit the ground running with this.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think a surprising part for me in the start for the Heat, who are, as we record this, third in the East, 11-6, I believe the record is for the Miami Heat right now. You ain't been on the court, but the Miami Heat have been doing this without Tyler Hero. Bam Adebayo has missed a few games himself too. I believe the Heat went 4-2 without Bam during that stretch. You mentioned how there hasn't really been like that superb shot creator on this team. I think Tyler Hero's return will kind of help with that in some regard, but without those two being like part of the roster consistently, you mentioned the play style, but like, who else is stepping up for this squad? Is it any of those first round draft picks that you mentioned? I know for me personally, every time I see Kel'el Ware do anything positive, I just kind of grit my teeth. I was hoping he would fall in the draft to the Bucks so bad last year, but didn't
What's
happen.
Funny is that some people, like in the pre-draft process, a lot of people said that Kel'el Ware's best case scenario would be Miles Turner. So you sort of just ended up hopping in the time machine and going and getting like future Kel'el Ware and just getting current Miles Turner. Norm Powell is the guy, right? Norm Powell is the guy that's really kind of unlocked this team. And Powell was a borderline all-star in the Western Conference last year, just shot the lights out, all these things, career highs and, a bunch of different stats. And then they went and got him for basically next to nothing, Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson this summer. And I think you're seeing that shooting that he had with the Clippers, it transferred over this year. Like, just turns out that this is just who Norm Powell is. And he's kind of having this weird breakout into his prime at 31, 32 years old. I can't recall the last time we've seen something like this. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. And he's a legit 27 point per game scorer right now. He's one of the best first quarter scorers in the league. And that's helped with Miami's fast starts. They're one of the best first quarter teams in the league overall. But what also stands out with Norm Powell is his quick decision-making. And you combine that with this offense that demands quick decision-making, shoot, dribble, or pass in half a second. You hear coaches talk about .5ing all the time. He's doing it. And That's been huge. Plus just being able to make a lot of shots. The other guy is the first round. It's Jaime Jaquez Jr.
Mhm.
It was a really down second year for him after a really strong rookie year where he was, a lot of people called him the steal of the draft where they got him in the middle of the first round. And this year, this offense has unlocked him, right? He's not being asked to stand in the corner and try to space the floor for Jimmy Butler, which is just not his game anymore, or Bam Adebayo for that matter. It's just not his game anymore.
Right.
It's not his game ever. He's not a three-point shooter. Now in this offense, he's allowed to get downhill, use his speed, kind of get into those quick little dribble fake moves and all that, the spin move and all that kind of stuff. He's really, really thriving right now. And it's not a surprise that FanDuel has him as the favorite to win Sixth Man of the Year right now. He's playing that good, playing that well. So those two guys have really carried this Heat offense without Tyler Hero and with Bam missing a lot of time. Now that Bam is back, you're seeing a lot of teams starting to throw zone at them defensively to try to slow down this up-tempo system. Well, Bam's great for that because he gets into that free throw line jumper. He's able to kind of break that zone exactly right from the middle of it. And then what I think is going to be really interesting when Hero comes back, and by the time people are hearing this, Hero probably, as we expect him to make his return Monday night, and so he should be available Wednesday. What makes Hero really interesting is, as good as Norm Powell has been, he's a foot to the line three-point shooter.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero's he'll shoot it from 30 feet. Yeah.
Yep.
And so having that spacing element, I'm really intrigued what that does with an offense that really thrives on cuts and baseline stuff and those kinds of actions. Having a little bit more space from Tyler Hero, that's going to be really intriguing.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Do you think we'll see Tyler Hero on Wednesday? And it sounds like that is quite the possibility.
As long as there's no setbacks, we'll see how Monday goes. That's the expectation.
Okay. Well, listen, the Bucks will not be full strength when they head to Miami on Wednesday, but I think it still should be a pretty interesting matchup. Norm Powell for years has been a Buck killer. So initially, like you guys, when we played earlier, I was like, hey, listen, Norm Powell numbers against the Bucks, don't expect them all the time, but he has been, as you pointed out, somebody who is going to have a really strong all-star case this year. So Wes, I want to thank you for your time, and Wednesday should be an interesting game at the very least with the NBA Cup pageantry between the Heat and the Bucks. So thanks again.
I'm excited for it, despite the fact that it's an NBA Cup game. It'll be fun either way.
For sure. Not only thanking Wes Goldberg for joining us here, but also a big thank you to Mike Richman from Locked On Blazers of joining us. And a big thank you to you, the listener, for making Locked On Bucks your first listen today. For that second listen, make sure you go and check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball. That's the podcast with Josh Lloyd. It's the #1 fantasy basketball podcast for a reason. He is going to make sure to get you right for your league. So check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball wherever it is you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Truly do appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. We will be back tomorrow with a Blazers post-game episode for you. So make sure you keep it locked in to Locked On Bucks.